Right now at noon, a trailer house fire in Junction has several fire departments racing to put out the flames.
We have a lot of dry air across us right now, but what about the holiday weekend? We'll have the forecast.
Plus, Pittsburgh paints the town red as PSU kicks off its season opener tonight.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good afternoon and thank you for joining us on KOAM News at Noon. I'm Caitlin O'Shaughnessy. In today's top story, a trailer house is destroyed by a fire early Thursday morning. Just before 2:30 a.m., reports of a structure fire in the 3300 block of North Explorer Lane alerted the Jasper County E911. Junction Carl Fire, METS ambulance, and Jasper County deputies responded to the fire and requested Webb City Fire as mutual aid. Upon arrival, Carl Junction Fire saw the house was fully engulfed in flames. Just hours earlier, deputies responded to the area regarding suspicious activity around the vacant residence. Neighbors say the trailer was being remodeled and that nobody lived there. The fire was under control about 3:30 a.m. and no injuries were reported. A jury convicts a man on charges related to his escape from custody in Newton County, Missouri. Michael Ray Durison had been held on a warrant out of Louisiana. Authorities say that during his stay at a hospital in Newton County in September of 2022, Durison disarmed the lone jail staffer, used the jailer's own taser to stun the jailer, and subsequently fled the scene. Durison was later found after a 10-day manhunt. He's now found guilty of assault in the first degree, of armed criminal action, and disarming a police officer. He'll be sentenced on October 4th. A convicted rapist, who authorities say used a jet ski during an escape from an Arkansas prison, has now been arrested in West Virginia. The U.S. Marshal Service says Samuel Martin was taken into custody yesterday along with his wife, his mother, and his mother's boyfriend at a Lewisburg hotel. Authorities say the women aided in Hartman's escape back in August 2022. Hartman was on a work detail when a pickup truck approached and he ran to the vehicle. Hartman and the women later jumped on jet skis and apparently crossed the Mississippi River. Hartman had been sentenced to life in prison in 2013 for a rape conviction out of Franklin County, Arkansas. And a Missouri Republican wants exceptions to the state's near-total abortion ban. Jamie Corley of St. Louis filed constitutional amendments to allow abortions in cases of rape, incest, and fatal fetal abnormalities. Another option would be to allow abortions until fetal viability, though it's unclear when a fetus would be considered viable under the proposal. Currently, Missouri bans almost all abortions. The only exception is for medical emergencies. Now let's take it over to meteorologist Sam Lane, who joins us with a look at your forecast.
It's been warm the last couple of days, but with low dew points, it's been feeling pretty comfortable out there over the last 36 hours. You can see temperatures have been dropping down into the 50s and 60s at night and then soaring up into the upper 80s in the afternoon, and that's going to continue as we go into the weekend. We do have some dry air, especially across our area, and there is an upper level low off the Texas Gulf Coast. That could have an influence on our weather as we head into the early part of next week, increasing our chances of showers and storms. But in the meantime, our UV index this afternoon is going to be on the high scale, so if you're going to be outside, it's about 20 to 25 minutes of burn time. So make sure you have the hat, the sunglasses, the sunscreen. Find the shade if you can and limit your time outdoors, and be sure to check on the elderly as well as the pets that might be outside, as it's going to be pretty toasty, even though the dew points are going to be low. What's not going to be low is the ragweed and the chenopod and the nettle. Those are the primary pollens that we've been dealing with in our allergy outlook. Today, 10.9 on the scale out of a scale of 12, and then tomorrow it will be increasing just a little bit, 11 on the scale. And as we take a look down the lane, we're going to see some warm afternoons, but we're also going to see the humidity increasing as well as we go through the weekend with higher dew points. But then that upper level low could introduce a low rain chance as we go into the early part of next week. And unfortunately, it looks like the heat wave is going to be coming back as well. Hopefully not as severe as it was in the latter part of August, but we'll have all the details on that in just a little bit.
Gearing up for the first football game of the season happening tonight, Pittsburgh rolled out the red carpet for Paint the Town Red. More than 20 businesses joined the contest in 3 different categories, incorporating this year's theme, Lights, Camera, Guests. Half of the money raised with the participation fee will help offer scholarships to 2 Pitt State students who graduated from local high schools. Also joining the show, almost 15 departments and student organizations within the PSU campus.
When our businesses are decorated and people are out and about during the week and they see all the pride of Gorilla Nation throughout, I can imagine it's exciting for our students and our players. It's energizing.
I think they feel like they're home. They see that the university and the community are one and the same, and that they can go off campus and still feel as comfortable as if they were still on the Pitt State campus.
Folks also got into the Gorilla spirit with a downtown block party and pep rally between 4th and 6th Streets. It featured live music from the Pride of the Plains marching band, games, food, and a kids' fun run with Gus. Kickoff is tonight at 7 p.m. The Newton County Sheriff's Office secures a brand new piece of equipment. The Lenco Bearcat Tactical Vehicle is a new tool for the Special Response Team, or Tactical Team, of Newton County. It replaces the 35-year-old vehicle the office has been using. It'll be mainly used for drug search warrants, hostage situations, and felony arrest warrants. They say its armor is rated to stop a .50 caliber round.
This is obviously a much more mobile, easily used vehicle. It's on a Ford 600 chassis, can be worked on local. It's just been a good pick for us.
The Sheriff's Office says they've had 3 situations in the last 6 weeks when this vehicle would have been used. And the Neosho County, Kansas Health Department held discussions on teen dating violence and its impact on mental health. They brought in award-winning speaker and best-selling author Ashley Bendixson to give a presentation on the topic. It was aimed at helping people identify warning signs of abuse and how to prevent it.
We know that there's a super high prevalence of these issues, whether it's adults or children experiencing them. And not only is this a damaging and concerning issue, it also poses lots of other secondary consequences. Struggles in life with one's mental health, one's educational abilities. And so really we're just here to cultivate a conversation around what can we as adults, as first responders, as the community do.
That's a look at today's top stories and weather in the 4 states region. Up next on the KOAM News at Noon. As Labor Day weekend 2023 approaches, we're exploring how hard and fast the no white after Labor Day rule actually is and where it came from. And later, we're making garlic spaghetti squash in the Mr. Food Test kitchen. Stay tuned. As the age-old adage goes, Labor Day marks the last day in the calendar year that fashionistas should don white. But where does the rule come from, and can you really not wear white after Labor Day? Turns out the rule of not wearing white after Labor Day has a snobbish origin. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, white clothes were a symbol of leisure and wealth for the upper class who could afford to escape the city heat in the summer. To distinguish themselves from the new money and the masses, the old money elites created arbitrary fashion rules such as no white after the first Monday of September. Labor Day, which became a federal holiday in 1894, marked the end of summer and the return to the city and work for the privileged. White clothes were also impractical for the colder and dirtier seasons of fall and winter, making them easier to stain and harder to clean. Today, the rule is largely ignored or challenged by fashionistas and celebrities who wear white all year round. And residents in Florida's Big Bend region are returning home today to see what's left of their property after Category 3 hurricane slammed ashore Wednesday morning. Idalia quickly moved north, spreading more misery, and Jared Hill has the latest from Morehead City, North Carolina.
Idalia arrived in the Carolinas as a tropical storm, but with enough punch to flood streets and topple trees.
That car's flying!
In Goose Creek, South Carolina, intense winds lifted this car right off the ground. The local police chief said 2 people escaped with only minor injuries. Here in Morehead City on the coast of North Carolina, it's not just the wind, but also the water that's a concern. There are flash flood warnings up and down the eastern part of the state. Idalia left its biggest mark in Florida after making landfall along the Big Bend area of the Gulf Coast Wednesday morning.
Oh my gosh!
The canopy at a gas station in Perry, Florida was no match for the storm's 125-mile-per-hour winds.
You want to live on the water, you got to put up with it, you know?
There's massive damage in Horseshoe Beach. Many homes in the small coastal community are destroyed. Trees and debris everywhere. But everyone appears to be okay.
Okay, what matters is what I'm holding right here, okay? It's just material stuff.
At one point, water stretched as far as the eye could see, and many storm victims now have to wait for it to recede before they begin putting their lives back together. Jared Hill, CBS News, Morehead City, North Carolina.
Tens of thousands of people from Florida to the Carolinas are still without power. Still to come on KOAM News at Noon, we see what's cooking with Mr. Food.
It looks like spaghetti. It even tastes like spaghetti. Yet it's low carb, gluten-free, and keto-friendly. I'll give you a hint, but I don't want to squash any of your ideas.
When we come back, we'll have a complete look at your Labor Day weekend forecast, so stay tuned. Well, the dry weather continues, but at least we are feeling more comfortable out there with low dew points making it feel not that bad, even though temperatures are rising into the upper 80s and lower 90s. And let's take a look. Yesterday, we were 89 degrees, starting out at 62, which was a little bit above normal on the high and a little bit below on the low, and so it kind of all averaged out. What's not averaging out is the rainfall. Look at that. Around 6/10 ahead of normal for a change for the month, but about 10 inches behind for the rainfall so far this year. And over the last month, it's been a topsy-turvy month. We started out very, very hot, and then we had a couple of weeks of not so bad weather. And then, of course, the last 2 weeks, the reverse of that. It was well above 100 degrees in many locations, and we ended up on the above side. And over the summer, we've had several days of 100 plus, 2 in June, 5 in July, and then several in August. So about 2 weeks of 100 plus so far this summer. Hopefully, we're not going to see any more 100 plus degree readings, but we'll have to wait and see on that. It's going to get close, and radar right now is pretty much clear across the entire area. Dew points, though, are low, and that's what's making it feel at least comfortable out there with warm afternoons, generally in the 50s. A few 60s starting to show up down in Oklahoma, but on the dew point tracker scale, that's still not bad. Most of it is pleasant, and hopefully that will continue into the weekend. And speaking of the weekend, rain chances are going to remaining low, at least for the first part of the weekend, pretty much close to zero over the next 36 hours. We've been watching several systems on the East Coast. Of course, Adelia now moving off the coast of Carolina. We do have an upper level low sitting over the Gulf Coast, and then this ridge of high pressure out towards the west. And it's that ridge that caused all the heat wave last week. And unfortunately, this ridge is going to start building back into our area as we go into the weekend. And that means the hot weather is going to return, but at least with this upper level low in the area, we're going to be in this northeasterly wind direction, and that's a dry direction. It keeps lower dew points advecting in from the north and east, and that makes it at least comfortable, especially in the overnight and early morning hours. And as we go through the early part of next week, this upper level low is going to get a little bit stronger, and maybe some moisture is going to start to come up from the south, and that's when we start to see isolated showers and thunderstorms in our forecast. Rainfall amounts, though, are going to be very light, especially in southeastern Kansas and northeast Oklahoma. The best chance of precipitation is going to be off towards the east, where maybe they'll pick up a tenth or so, but most areas are going to remain dry as a bone all weekend long. Temperatures this afternoon are going to rise into the upper 80s and lower 90s, and then as we go into tonight, again because of the dry air, temperatures are going to be falling down into the 50s and lower 60s, so at least very comfortable out there. And then as we go into Saturday or Friday afternoon, we'll see temperatures again close to 90 degrees, especially in southeast Kansas. Then Saturday morning, lows a little bit milder, still 50s to the east, 60s to the west, and then Saturday afternoon looking pretty nice as well, partly cloudy with highs in the mid-90s in southeast Kansas, upper 80s off towards the east. And then as we go into Sunday morning, lows will still be pretty much in the 60s across the area. Over the next 7 days, the dry weather continues through most of the weekend, maybe a pop-up storm or two as we head into Labor Day, but then next week it gets hotter with temperatures in the mid-90s.
Making garlic spaghetti squash in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen. We'll be right back. It's time to check in with Howard and the Mr. Food kitchen staff. Today he's making a perfect side dish in place of heavy carbs and gluten that's still yummy and filling all on its own. It's called garlic spaghetti squash. Take a look.
How many times have you walked into the produce department and looked at all the varieties of squash and just passed them by. Maybe you felt intimidated by them since you weren't sure how to cook them. Well, to help you out, today I want to introduce you to one of my personal favorites, the spaghetti squash. As you can see, they're yellow and oval in shape. Although there are a few different ways to cook them, we like placing a whole spaghetti squash in a large soup pot with about an inch of water. Once the water starts to boil, we'll cover it and let it cook for about 20 to 30 minutes or until it's fork tender. After letting it cool slightly, cut it in half, remove the seeds, and with a fork, scrape out the pulp. As you can see, the squash looks like strands of spaghetti. Today we're keeping things simple and flavorful by sauteing this in some butter, garlic, and a little salt and pepper. Right before taking it off the stove, sprinkle on some slivery basil. Then it's time to dig in. Talk about a delicious way to enjoy a low-carb and keto-friendly side dish. To get the recipe for what we call our garlicky spaghetti squash skillet, check out our website. I'm Howard in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we found a swirly spaghetti squash way for you to say, ooh, it's so good.
To find this recipe, along with many others, just head over to our website at koamnewsnow.com and click on Mr. Food. Now here's a look at the 4 state market prices.
Your weekend looks pretty dry and warm with temperatures in the upper 80s and lower 90s. Isolated thunderstorms possible as we head in towards Labor Day. And then next week, those showers will still be in the forecast, but temperatures are going to be warming rapidly up into the mid 90s, which is, of course, above normal for this time of year, and lows in the 70s, and also becoming a little bit more uncomfortable with high heat index.
Well, Dow, what do you have for us this evening?
Well, a lot at 5. For starters, millions of Americans are leaving town for one last summer trip this Labor Day weekend. We're going to tell you what to expect at the pump. Plus, Pitt State officially unveils its brand new nursing school, and MIAA football kicks off tonight for both Missouri Southern and PSU because it's that time of year and we're excited about it. Hope you join us for those stories. A lot more, of course. It's coming up on KOAM News at 5.
And that's the news for now. Thank you for joining us for the KOAM News at Noon. We'll see you right back here later this evening.